floor is yours.
Your Excellency Dr. Wagner Gebeyu, Executive Secretary of IGAD, Your Excellencies Special Envoys and Special Representatives on Sudan, representatives of the Quintet, representatives of IGAD member states, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me convey my apology to you. We were supposed to be here in the morning, but the president of the country convened an urgent meeting, so it took some time away this morning. So I hope I've not deflated the rest of your events for the day. Welcome to Nairobi for this important forum dedicated to advancing peace in Sudan. Kenya appreciates the efforts by the Quintet, including IGAD, the African Union, the United Nations, the League of Arab States, and all partners for sustaining international attention on Sudan. Certainly, Sudan's humanitarian crisis demands continued international solidarity and collective action. Today's gathering underscores our collective determination to address the suffering of Sudanese people by advancing a coordinated diplomatic and political strategy to end one of the world's gravest humanitarian and security crises. The continued fighting has resulted in dire humanitarian crisis, widespread destruction of infrastructure, collapse of public institutions, unprecedented displacement, and growing risks of regional instability. The UNHCR reports that around 14 million people have been displaced since the war erupted in 2023, creating the world's largest displacement crisis. Reports of widespread violations against civilians in Khartoum and other regions such as El Fasher and El Obeid reflect a situation that the conscience of the international community can no longer ignore or tolerate. Time is of essence. Every day the conflict continues, positions harden, parallel centers of authority become further entrenched, humanitarian needs multiply, and prospects for national reconciliation diminish. The window to prevent further fragmentation and the slide into prolonged state failure is narrowing and rapidly shrinking as the warring parties continue to prioritize military solutions over dialogue. Nevertheless, the historical resilience of the Sudanese people has repeatedly demonstrated their deep desire for and democratic governance. We must carry the voices of millions of Sudanese people who yearn for a nation defined by peace, justice, and the rule of law. The future of Sudan must be secured through an inclusive and transparent political process that reflects the diversity of the Sudanese nation. Kenya welcomes the various international initiatives, including the Jeddah Declaration and the Quad Framework. We reaffirm our support for the decisions of the Security Council, IGAD, and the African Union, including the African Union Roadmap for the resolution of the conflict in Sudan. Allow me to underscore 5 key imperatives for advancing a credible and sustainable peace process in Sudan. First is the support for genuine and concrete actions that facilitate an immediate cessation of hostilities. This must be matched by a coordinated deployment of diplomatic tools at regional and international levels to disincentivize the war and ensure compliance with a durable ceasefire. Second is an inclusive political process. We must support the establishment of a genuinely inclusive Sudanese-led and Sudanese-owned political process. Civilian political parties, women, youth, traditional leaders, religious leaders, professional associations, business leaders, and civil society all have a role to play. Kenya welcomes ongoing efforts to strengthen coordination among Sudanese civilian democratic forces. However, unity among civilian actors remains essential. Fragmentation only prolongs the conflict and emboldens those focused on military solutions. Third is consistent international support, with regional and international partners acting constructively and responsibly. This calls for strong coordination among all partners. The risk that competing geopolitical interests may reinforce military approaches and undermine credible mediation efforts remains real and must be actively mitigated. The multiplicity of competing mediation tracks risks prolonging the conflict. Our collective objective must be to strengthen African-led mediation while ensuring close coordination and complementarity with the broader international community. Fourth, alleviating the suffering of the civilian population must remain our priority. There must be unimpeded humanitarian access, effective protection of civilians, and the immediate mobilization of emergency relief assistance. Humanitarian aid must never be politicized and weaponized. Aid convoys must be granted safe and unhindered passage. Civilians and civilian infrastructure must be protected in accordance with international humanitarian law. Additionally, Kenya calls for increased international humanitarian support to frontline states hosting Sudanese refugees in order to prevent further regional spillover and instability. Fifth is that accountability and justice must underpin any sustainable peace. Peace without justice is inherently fragile. A new Sudan cannot be built on the foundations of impunity. Those responsible for violations of international law must be held accountable. At the same time, mechanisms for truth-seeking reconciliation and national healing must be pursued to rebuild trust, restore social cohesion, and lay the foundation for durable peace. Kenya remains guided by the principle that the future of Sudan belongs to the Sudanese people. Our role is neither to prescribe outcomes nor to impose solutions, but to facilitate and support an inclusive Sudanese-led process that commands broad national legitimacy and enjoys coherent regional and international support. Kenya, therefore, remains ready to provide diplomatic space and good offices, facilitate dialogue, support humanitarian efforts, and work closely with IGAD, the African Union, the United Nations, the Quintet, and all partners committed to a peaceful resolution of this conflict. Therefore, let this forum send a clear and united message. The guns must fall silent, humanitarian suffering must end, Sudan's unity and sovereignty must be preserved. I wish you fruitful deliberations and look forward to actionable outcomes that will help us restore peace, stability, and hope to Sudan and the wider Horn of Africa region. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that inspiring opening remarks and for officially opening the third forum of Special Envoys. Your presence today reflects Kenya's continued